Hello, everyone. It's the end of a decade, but it's also the end of a year, and we've had many hits and many misses in the year of 2019. It was actually quite difficult for me to make a top 10 list this year. Now, here is my top 10 favorite 2019 films. Now, this is just the films I've seen so far this year. There are plenty of big budget and low budget films that I'm sure are excellent, but I haven't seen them yet. So this is just from the films I've seen. Starting out from my most disappointing, Glass and The Lion King really disappointed me this past year. I had high expectations for them, and they let me down. Now, Glass was actually a very enjoyable movie until the last 15 minutes. It wasn't really the idea of the ending, but more so the execution of it. Meanwhile, The Lion King had brilliant visuals, but the voice work and music was very lackluster, and it ultimately was this very big step down from the original '94 cartoon. Above that, there are some films that were disappointing, but I still enjoyed. That was X-Men Dark Phoenix and Terminator Dark Fate. I enjoyed elements of those films, even though they were a bit disappointing. They weren't good enough to make the top 10. Another film that almost made the top 10 was Godzilla, King of the Monsters. This film I really enjoyed. The human characters were horrible, but the music and the monster action was straight out of the Toho Japanese Godzilla films, and I love King of the Monsters. It almost made my list, and that is an honorable mention. Starting at number 10, though, is Doctor Sleep. I really like this sequel to The Shining. It's a bit more of a slow burn, but it's more psychological than its predecessor, while also having some nods to The Shining and recreated scenes. I love it. I do wish we got a CG Jack Nicholson. However, I love Ewan McGregor as Daniel Torrance. That was cool seeing a grown up Danny. Rebecca Ferguson kills it as the film's villain. She's excellent. Man, Kylie Curran was also great as Abra. I love the little girl here. She's going to go far. She's pretty much like Danny in the original Shining. But I like this. I like how it feels like a novel with Danny going down a downward spiral and then getting his life together, his friendship with Abra, and them going after these psychic vampires. It was a bit different from the novel's ending, but I still enjoyed it. It was a worthy and interesting sequel to The Shining. Above that at number 9 is Spider-Man Far From Home. This is right after Avengers End Game, and I love Jake Gyllenhaal as Mysterio. He's my favorite villain since Alfred Molina as Doc Ock. Tom Holland really grows into the role of Peter Parker, and like the comics and cartoon, the best stories of Spider-Man, he's beat down, he cannot get a break, and we get to see that with his relationship with MJ. Ned, Ned finding a girlfriend, and Peter Parker kind of just being left there on vacation. He wants a normal life, but he can't. Duty calls. I like Nick Fury, Maria Hill here, and as well as Happy. Happy Hogan has some funny scenes with Aunt May. There's a lot of stuff they took from the video game, but I like the direction they're going in. I like the homages to Sandman and Hydro Man, and I love the twist that ties directly into Iron Man 1. Overall, this felt like a Spider-Man film. Peter Parker felt like the hero that we all know and love, you know. And that ending left it in a very interesting place with J. Jonah Jameson. After that, at number 8 is a film that really surprised me. Fighting with My Family is the biopic of WWE superstar Paige. And this does take some embellishments. It's not entirely accurate as real life with like the matches and certain events of history. But it was based off the documentary Fighting with My Family. We get to see the emergence of Paige, you know, her with a wrestling family, her brother and her, their relationship, and we also get to see her rise into the WWE from NXT to WWE. And Florence Pugh, you know, she was in Midsummer. I still have yet to see that. I'm sure it's great, but she's also in this. She does a great job as Paige. She really kind of conveys the badassness of the real life Paige and just the attitude. And I didn't think she would. It really surprised me. I love the score here. Stephen Merchant does a great job writing and directing. There's a lot of comedy, but there's also a lot of heart in this film. So even if you're not a fan of WWE, you're not into wrestling, you don't know anything about Paige, feel free to check out this movie. It really is kind of like, you know, Rocky or other great sports movies. It has a lot of hard and deeper themes and messages that really apply to life outside of wrestling. After that is Aladdin. Aladdin really surprised me. I was talking a lot of crap about this film. I didn't think it was going to be good. I don't know if it was after seeing Lion King or what, but this might be one of my favorites, if not my favorite live-action Disney remake, along with The Jungle Book. This managed to have the spirit of the cartoon of Aladdin while also doing its own thing, doing something to stand on its own. I love Will Smith as Genie. He was getting an a lot of unnecessary flack, and I told everyone he's going to be the best part about this movie. But what surprised me is Aladdin and Jasmine, they very much were like they were in the cartoon. And what I love, despite the clean kind of digital look of it, Guy Ritchie brought the musical style of the cartoon. This was advertised as a live action remake, but it was really a musical, much like Disney cartoons. And that's why I think it had the spirit of the original Aladdin. It also has some hints that go to Return of Jafar and King of Thieves if they decide to go that route, which I hope they do. After that is It Chapter 2. It Chapter 2 was a great conclusion. It was a bit slow in places. It did have a lot of flashbacks, and you can tell they CG'd the actors to make them look younger, and I was kind of bummed out because I'm like, what was the use of going in chronological order if you're going to have flashbacks still? But I love the adults, you have Jessica Chastain, James McAvoy, Bill Hader makes this film. There's a fortune cookie staring at me. I love that. Pennywise is scary. He kills children. He's relentless. But I think he was more frightening a bit in the first one. Despite that, though, it is a solid conclusion and a worthy ending to the first chapter of it. I can't wait to watch these back to back. I love that final showdown. And after the Hall of Mirrors scene, James McAvoy's character has enough. That's when it really starts becoming a crazy film when all of them band together to fight it. That confrontation is just awesome. Overall, I love the miniseries a bit more, but with the technological advancements and stuff, I have to say this is a good reboot. After that is John Wick Chapter 3 Parabellum. This is one film that did not disappoint me. It met my expectations and surpassed them. I thought it was better than Part 2. I love all the John Wicks, but the action, some of the best action of the decade, like John Wick and Mission Impossible were the best action films of the decade. This film has some crazy action I have not seen in other films. Keanu Reeves, as always, Baba Yaga, he's a badass. I love the villains. Overall, I felt like they could have concluded the John Wick story with this. It felt like it left it open for one more. But that's kind of the point. That twist surprised me. I wanted a bit more of Halle Berry, but I love everything about it. One of the better movies of the year. After that is Avengers End Game. This is the end of an era, and this is epic in every possible way. It's going to be a long time before we see a film that has the impact that Avengers End Game has. While I do think they negate some of their own time travel rules, I do enjoy this film immensely. Man, Robert Downey Jr.'s swan song as Tony Stark, Fat Thor. But you have Ant-Man, you have Captain America, so many fan-serviceable moments. But it's just that last fight that goes on Lord of the Rings proportions of epicness, and I love it. After that is Captain Marvel, and by Captain Marvel, I mean Shazam. Shazam was awesome. This film is like big if he was a superhero. Zachary Levi does a great job. I love the direction here. This has a light-hearted approach while also having some dark, edgy moments. I love the introduction of the Marvel family. The villain in this, Mark Strong, does a great job. Man, and it has a deep story too. Overall, this is just a fun movie, and it brought like children and everything back to superhero films. It felt like films that would have been made in the 80s and 90s, and I love it. It really surprised me, and it was a really, really well done entry in the DC universe. It had a standard, isolated story, but it was still set in a bigger universe with references to Batman, Wonder Woman, Aquaman, and even Superman with that ending. Yeah. I love Shazam. Shazam was just a good movie from beginning to end. After that is Aleta Battle Angel. Now, for a while, this was my favorite movie of the year. I love Aleta Battle Angel. Robert Rodriguez's direction, story from James Cameron, of course, based on the anime Goon. And I love Rosa Salazar. She is a badass in this. But this film has heart. I love Christoph Waltz in this. And seeing this in 3D was quite something else. And this is definitely one of my favorite movies of the year. Leaves it open for a sequel, but you know what? It's a perfect movie. And you know she's going to go get Nova. You know she's going after him. I love that. This movie brought magic into movie magic again. And I love it. My favorite movie of the year, personally, is Joker. This film blew me away. Joaquin Phoenix gives a fantastic performance. I loved every minute of this. A grounded superhero film. It's insulting to call it a superhero comic book film. This is just a great film, period, in the vein of King of Comedy or Taxi Driver, early 80s films, late 70s films. And Joaquin Phoenix single-handedly holds this movie together, and they tell a deep, compelling story about how a man becomes a supervillain. It's a very great character study. You know, it's not done in a cheesy way of like him falling in a vat of chemicals. No, society turned him this way. And it may or may not be real. Who knows? But I love it. That ending, that third act is explosive. After all the revelations and twists, all the struggles that Arthur Fleck goes through, he finally embraces who he is meant to be, and that is the Joker. In this film, man, I can't believe Todd Phillips, the guy to Starsky and Hutch in the Hangover trilogy, did this, because it is amazing, and it'd be criminal, it'd be a sin if Joaquin Phoenix is not nominated an Academy Award. He needs to win it. Seriously, it's that good of a film, that great of a performance. I love it. Joker's my favorite film of the year, and I can't wait to buy it on Blu-ray. Anyway, that does it for my top 10 favorite films of 2019. Now, this is films that I've seen. There are other films that I have not seen, so feel free down in the comments below to share your top 10 favorite films of 2019. Some I've seen, some I may have not seen. Share your favorites down in the comments below. I would like to know them. Feel free to like, comment, and subscribe for more videos. Follow me at Fred Film Fanatic on the Stardust app, and here are a couple more videos you can enjoy on my channel. Till next time.